What's up, everybody? Thanks for coming.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, this is cool. It's a good turnout. Appreciate you thinking that I'll be worth your time, so I'll try to make it worth your time. Mike and I, Kevin, Franchisee of the Year, got Mike and I matching Yetis, and in the green room, we have been swapping them all week. So today I said, it's in my backpack, Mike, so just don't go in my backpack and you won't touch my Yeti. So this is mine, Mike's is hopefully on stage upstairs. Cool, so I'm just gonna take a swig and we'll get going. So this talk is really for hopefully everyone in this room, hopefully helpful. But I wanted to talk about something I thought of 2 months ago, was how you sell yourself in business and life, whatever arena you're in. I know Liz talked about being the man in the arena, but ultimately, how can you sell yourself to your coworkers, to the head of your organization, to whoever you may interact with throughout your day? And the reason I chose to title it Sell Yourself is because 2 months ago, Mike said, Lee, you're doing a breakout session at the conference. What's your title? We need to put it on the schedule. And I said, Sell Yourself. And then he walked away. So it was the first thing I said, and I made a title from there. I made some content from there. If you know Augusta, we listen and read to a ton of audiobooks, leadership books, business books, health books, and they're really, a lot of them are the cornerstone of what we believe at Augusta. So, like one of our favorites, is Extreme Ownership. I'm going to be giving you homework, so you might want to write down some book titles. But just the cornerstone of Augusta's Extreme Ownership by Jocko Willink. He's a former Navy SEAL. If you don't know who he is, he has the Jocko podcast. And ultimately, you can own everything in your life, and if you can own everything in your life, own all the problems, you then can also own all the solutions. So that's a good thing. But the book I want to start with is a book called Linchpin by Seth Godin. So I don't know if any of you have read that, but in this book, Seth talks about how you can become a linchpin as an employee in your organization. So if you don't know what a linchpin is, it's defined as, very, very, very cool, a locking pin inserted crosswise. That's the actual definition of what a linchpin is. And they're very, very, very tiny, very, very small pieces of hardware. Okay? A secondary definition is a person or thing that is vital to an enterprise or organization. So I want to talk about the second definition of linchpin. But if you don't really understand how important a linchpin is, the perfect example, because we're all in the lawn care and landscape industry, is a trailer pin. Right? If you've ever hooked up a trailer to a truck, right? You got the ball here, you bring the trailer in, boom, drop the trailer on, set the lock, and then what's the last step? You put in a pin. That's a linchpin. If a linchpin is not on there, the trailer can pop off the ball, it'll fly back. Hopefully you put chains on, hopefully you put them crosswise. But if you didn't, the trailer's gonna fall off, it's gonna be lots of damage, it's gonna be lots of chaos. Right? So funny story, my parents came, thank you guys for coming. My parents came to listen to me talk, born and raised here in Bellingham. But a funny story I was thinking while putting this speech together is, my dad and I used to go fishing way up north in Canada, and it was my dad's boat and my dad's friend's truck. So bad combination right there. If there's an issue on the road, whose fault was it? Was it the truck or the trailer? Right? And we're coming back, great fishing trip. Like, we're talking full coolers of just salmon and halibut and rockfish, you name it. All the coolers were full. We're driving, I'm in the back seat, probably asleep. I'm middle school age at this time. And all of a sudden we just hear, wham! And the linchpin was never put in. The trailer popped off, and then it slammed into the tailgate of the truck. And so my dad, being the co-pilot, no pun intended, the co-pilot driver, is like, you gotta keep your speed up, because if you do that, the trailer's gonna keep just slamming and slamming and slamming, right? So he's coaching his buddy BA, who we call, and he's coaching BA, you gotta keep it going, and so they have to get to an off-ramp, and BA has to feather slowing down, so that way the trailer doesn't just slam into the back of the truck over and over and over again, right? Because a linchpin wasn't put in correctly, it could have caused lives. It could have cost lives, honestly. If that trailer would have flipped, if it would have rolled, someone behind us could have hit it, it could have flipped the truck, it could have sent us into a ditch, it could have caused a lot of destruction. Luckily, we made it out safe, we're okay. We're here to tell the story. If you want more stories from my dad, he's full of them. Former Navy, former commercial fisherman, you name it, he's done it all. So, what I really wanted to touch on is, because a linchpin is so vital, how can you be a linchpin in your organization? I think in order to prove you are a linchpin, you have to sell yourself over and over and over and over and over again before some people will realize how vital how important you are to an organization, to a group of people, to a community, right? I think about Mike, right? We're here, all of us are here because the name Mike Andes, right? We know who he is, and we know why we're here to learn from him. But how did he create value for you? How did you hear his name and one day decide, I'm gonna spend money and fly across the country and see this guy live? Because over and over and over and over and over again, he posted hundreds, if not thousands of YouTube videos, podcasts, newsletters, you name it, he put it out there for you guys, right? And eventually it caught traction. He had to prove himself to you guys, and you decided this guy is a linchpin in the lawn care and landscape industry, and I wanna learn from him. He is vital to my education, right, as an employee, as an owner, as a contractor. Whatever your title may be, we're all here to learn from him. I wanted to start not by talking about a bunch of facts and numbers, because if you want to do that, go talk to Mike, go talk to Marcus Vandervliet. Those guys love the numbers, but I want to talk about a little bit of a different story. So who here is like an NBA fan? NBA fans? Only a couple, okay. Probably should use like NFL. I feel like that's better in our culture, if you will. But if you don't know the name Kobe Bryant, then you can tune out for like the next 10 minutes, okay? But and if you don't know the name Kobe Bryant, quick Google, you'll find 1,000 things about him. But Kobe Bryant played in the NBA for a very long career. He's arguably one of the fiercest competitors, hardest working athletes of all time. Right? People tell all these stories about him early in the gym. He'd do workouts before everyone else, you name it. Like there are countless stories about how Kobe Bryant was one of the fiercest competitors and would not be beat. Kobe was always willing to sell himself. All right? How did he prove himself every day? Right? He could have got a championship and said, I'm good, peace out, like I'm done. Right? He won championships and he was in the gym the next day. Right? There's stories of him texting his trainers after winning a championship and saying, ready for next year, when are you ready? Right? He was always trying to sell himself. So the first story I want to tell, both of these are very contrasting. But the first one is the 2008 Summer Olympics. So Team USA, they're facing Spain heading into the medal round. So when they play Spain, it's going to affect how they're seeded in the tournament to win a gold medal. So it's a very important game. At the time, Kobe and Pau Gasol, if you know who that is, Pau Gasol was a Spanish native. So he played for Spain's international team and Kobe played for Team USA. They were teammates for the LA Lakers, right? Kobe played for the US, Paul played for Spain, and before the game in the locker room, it's a very funny telling. You can look this up on ESPN, it's hilarious. You get like, you get LeBron's take on it, Kevin Garnett, Dwayne Wade, like all these guys tell it a little differently, but it's the same story. And they say, we're in the locker room, we're all getting each other hyped up, we're like, yeah, let's do this is gonna be good, let's take it to them boys, let's bring home the gold, right? And all of a sudden it goes quiet, Kobe goes, guys, and they said he just was sitting in his locker and he just went, first play of the game, I'm running through Paul's chest. And they were all like, whoa dude, like you guys play together on the Lakers, like it's okay, like this is just the Olympics, right? It's not a big deal. And like, whatever, cool, it's Kobe being Kobe, he just meant the thing, right? Mamba mentality, if you know Kobe, right? He's just up here, maybe he's just psyching himself up. So tip off, Spain gets possession, right? Bring the ball to the top of the key, point guard has it. Guy cuts across the free throw line. If you don't know basketball, I'm really sorry, I'll try to speed this up. Guy cuts across the free throw line. The person covering him is Kobe, so Kobe is following him across the free throw line. Powell sets a screen at the top of the key, and Kobe, in a very distinct but split-second decision, goes boom. And he puts his foot down and he puts his shoulder right into Paul's chest. Paul slides back almost to the sideline. Like quite literally, you can watch the videos, I'm not exaggerating, drops his shoulder and Paul slides back maybe 5-10 feet, okay? And Kobe just walked away. He didn't help Paul up, he didn't high-five someone, he didn't pat his chest. All he did is just walk away, took the foul, Spain inbounded the ball on the next play. Next story is totally different light about Kobe. You know, because we see him as a fierce competitor, you know, these big celebrities, we don't see them like some of their friends, their family, and others see them. So this is a story about a real guy. You can look up the story, you can fact check me. But a real guy, he was on a podcast, I didn't catch his name, but he said he used to get invited to like private NBA practices, like super high level, he used to play college ball. Like, you know, they keep those things pretty tight, who gets to play with NBA players. But it was closed like pickup. It wasn't practice, no team organization, it was a private club. They said, hey, we're playing pickup, gonna be some NBA guys. So these guys who are high-level ballers will get invited to play, right? So he shows up, he's playing, he's on Kobe's team, right? And he's a shooter, he's a three-point shooter. So catches, shoot, miss, catches, shoot, miss, catches, shoot, miss. He misses 6 in a row, right? And so Kobe looks at him on the next possession. He goes, buddy, you gonna make a basket today? And he said, come on, Kobe, you know I'm a volume shooter, right? So they just joke around, whatever. Nothing happens. They move on about their lives. 3 to 4 weeks later, they all get invited back to play another game of pickup. Guy walks in the door. Before he's half a step into the door, Kobe goes, what's up, volume shooter? So why would I tell you these two very different stories, right? Kobe running through some guy's chest and Kobe remembering some random guy's name. I want you to see the juxtaposition of how Kobe sold himself to two completely different audiences. Right? Same guy, same fierce competitor, but he sold himself in two very different ways. The first way, right, is when he ran through Paul's chest. And what was he selling, right? What was he selling to his team? He said, I'm playing to win this game, right? His teammates knew from the first play of that game, Kobe doesn't care about Paul, he doesn't care about Spain, like he wants to win tonight, and we're gonna win with him. He told him, I'm tougher than the other team, right? They're gonna set Paul, and if you know Paul Gasol and Kobe, I mean, they're both like way over 6 feet, but in basketball terms, pretty big size difference, right? And Paul's way bigger, and Paul set a really good pick, and Kobe dropped his shoulder and went right through him. Right? I'm tougher than them. I don't care how big Paul is. I don't care how big their other players are. I don't care how strong they are. I don't care how fast they are. I'm tougher. And he also said, I got my teammates back. Because right now we're wearing USA across our chest. I don't care who the other team is. I have your guys' back on this court tonight. Nobody else. Now the other story, Kobe remembering a random guy's name, volume shooter. He's saying, hey, out of all the people in this gym, I respect you, man. I see you. I know who you are. I'll remember you. Right? You're valuable to me. You have a name. You're a person. I care about you. Right? We share a bond. We have a funny story. Right? That I can make fun of you for missing 6 shots in a row with a bunch of NBA players. Like, come on, dude. And he also said, like, I'm not above you. Like, yeah, I'm an NBA player, and these are like closed pickup games, but you know, Kobe could be out a multimillionaire, could forget that guy, could tell the organizer of the pickup games, never invite that guy again. Right? I'm sure Kobe had the power to do that. But he saw the guy again, and he said, I remember you. Right? I'm not above you. When we're in this gym, we're on the same playing field. Right? Now, the reason I tell you these stories is, obviously there's a reason, is that we can see Kobe and this interaction through two different facets. One is toughness, and I would say the other is grace. Right? So, to the employees in the room, because Mike said this will be more towards employees and managers, but I know there are a lot of owners in the room, but to the employees in the room, do you show toughness to your boss and to your coworkers? Right? When things get tough, do you get going, right? When things get tough, the tough get going, right? It's cheesy, but it means something, right? To the owners in the room, I'm sure you would nod your head. You love it when it gets tough. I'm sure the owners here, hopefully, can think of at least one employee. And if you don't, keep hiring. But hopefully you can think of at least one employee that you're like, yeah, when the chips are down, he's there, right? When there's a late pickup, he goes and gets it done. When there's one more yard, he says, put it on my route, right? When a job's behind, are you sitting in the truck complaining? Trust me, we're going to get to complaining later. Are you sitting in the truck complaining, or are you getting your hands dirty, right? Are you blaming the new guy? Well, the boss put me with the new guy, and that's why the job's behind. And we had 18 hours, and now we're at 20, and like the new guy doesn't know how to use the tools. Like, well, go train him, right? Are you running wall blocks up and down a hill to show the team that we can get the job done? If you want to know more of that story, you can talk to Marcus. It's a horrible nightmare job, but to physically sell ourselves to the team, right? Marcus and I ran wall blocks up and down a gravel hill because the job was behind, and we were like, we're not going to let our team quit. We're going to prove to them that we can get this job done, and we'll do anything to finish this job. We did that night. We put the track loader out, set up the lights. We were working until 9 p.m. The homeowners had a nice dinner with their friends. They were drinking wine on the deck, watching us. It was a horrible time. Ask Marcus about it. But we sold ourselves to our team, right? We said, we will get this wall done, even if we're running blocks up and down a gravel hill. Okay? Now, in terms of grace, right? We're talking about toughness. In terms of grace, when a customer's yelling at you, right? Do you just, oh, here's the boss's card. Call the office, right? I'm not dealing with this. Or do you take it head on? Do you try to help the customer? Do you try to understand what the customer is going through? Are you trying to sell yourself in the company on a resolution that you could provide them? Or are you just passing it off, right? Do you say, oh, the boss will handle it, oh, the office will handle it, I don't need to deal with customer complaints, I'm just the field guy, right? Or are you trying to help? When a new guy gets hired, do you make an effort to get to know him? Or do you extend grace to him? Do you extend an olive branch? Do you try to get to that, like, are you married? Do you have any kids? Like, do you have a dog? What do you like to do? Or you just go, new guy, he's gonna hurt my P for P, right? Get him out of here. Every situation that you face in work is an opportunity to prove yourself, and every situation you prove yourself is a situation where you sell yourself, you sell others on who you are, right? So I know there's a lot of business owners in the room, but I think this is a really good refresher. For employees, managers, whatever level you're at, this is something that Mike has said, we're all learners here in this room, and I really hope that I can help you guys, but I really just want to start at the basics. Like, what are the basics of selling yourself? All right? Number one, this is what I say. These are Lee's 4 rules to selling yourself. Number 1, kindness. All right? It's the golden rule, right? Treat others how you want to be treated. I know it's simple. I know it sounds easy. But are you kind to people? Like, seriously. Like, think about it. Right now, are you kind to people that you work with? Or are you just like, well, that's the coworker, and we don't talk, and we don't get along, and he doesn't like what I like, so we don't like, he likes the Broncos, and I like the Seahawks. So like, are you kind to people? Do you care about them? Right? Dan Rouse talked a ton about kindness this morning. Like, that talk, that 45 minutes he had, was basically, how are you kind to others, and how do you push them to be better? And also pushing yourself to be better. Right? He talked about helping people achieve their best self, caring for others, listening to others, learning things about them. What do they like? What do they do? People don't come to work and they're not one-dimensional. Right? If you listen to the theme of the speakers, I was talking to Tommy Mello, and I was like, man, you guys really have a theme going. Did Mike prep you guys? Did he tell you what to talk about? And Tommy, Corey, all these guys, no, Mike just wanted us to come and speak and talk to the people at the conference. I was like, there's a literal theme of people. If you noticed, every single talk upstairs talked about your people, your employees, your culture, your family, all those relationships. You need to be kind to other people. Number 2, okay, appearance. And we're not talking about, Kevin's beard, which is glorious. Like, you don't have to grow that beard. But I'm talking about how you present yourself at work, right? Do you wear your uniform with pride? You ask my wife, she's in the room, I hate khakis. What am I wearing right now? Khakis, baby, right? Because I represent Augusta, and I represent Mike Andes, and I represent Liz Naber, and I represent all the franchisees. So what am I wearing? I'm wearing khakis, baby, okay? You can ask my wife, do I like yellow? I have 0 pieces of clothing that were colored yellow before I was hired at Augusta. Go see my closet at home. It's a couple of shirts, yellow everything, right? You ask my mom. I also lived at home before I was married, and she did the laundry. So that's, hand up. We're not perfect. But you have a clean and tidy appearance, all right? That's important to your customers, right? Take pride in how you present yourself. I'm not saying you have to look perfect. I'm not saying you have to look polished. But I'm sure we're all imagining one time when we saw an employee walk in and we were like, is he taking a shower, man? Like, for real? Has this guy showered in a couple days? Right? There's a really cool story, and I think I stole this from Liz. I think she wanted to talk about it yesterday. But there's a book, throwing another book out at you. It's called Legacy by James Kerr. And for those of you who don't know what the story of Legacy is about, it's actually about the New Zealand All Blacks rugby team. So if you've ever heard of the All Blacks, they're one of the most storied organizations in all of rugby. Like, consistent world championships after world championships. I don't know a ton about rugby, but I know that their pedigree is full. All right? And in the book, Legacy, he tells the story of how a rugby team became so successful because of their team motto that is carried on for generations. Right? Rugby is a very historical game for a lot of island countries, for New Zealand, for Australia. And for generations, they had a theme. And the theme was, leave the jersey in a better place you found it. right? So your appearance, right? I know we're talking about our physical appearance, but I think there's a mental aspect to your appearance as well, right? When I put on the Augusta shirt, I'm not just Lee Park, right? When I put on the Augusta shirt, I'm Lee Park. I'm business consultant. We have 100 franchisees in America and in Canada. Where are the Canada guys? In the back. Too polite. They gave everyone the seats. Like, oh, no. Right? I represent all of you franchisees in the room. All the yellow in this room, like when I put this shirt on, no, I put it on with pride. Because I want the best for you. At the end of the day, I want us to win, right? I want everyone in this room to win. But I wear it with pride, right? Proudly across my chest. My wife could probably tell this story better than I, so if you want to, you can. But the first time I met her parents was like right after I got hired at Augusta. And if you don't know my story, I started in the field, right? Like a lot of us did. I met her parents. I'm like, what do you do, Lee? Well, I work for a landscaping company, like mow lawns, right? And now when I meet someone new, it's like, Lee, what do you do? I work at Augusta Lawn Care, right? We're ranked in the top 500 franchises in the world. What's up, Taco Bell, right? And we're changing the level of professionalism in this industry, one person, one business, one day at a time, right? The phrase, say it with your chest. I started to say it with my chest, because I feel it. Bryce over here and his guy, say it with the chest. Right? But leave the jersey in a better place you found it. Right? So I look back at my time in the field, and I did bring it with me. I actually still have my first ever field shirt. And it's super tattered, it's got holes in it, it's got blood on it, like you name it, it's got it all on it. But I kept it because it's a point of pride for me, right? To what Mike has built, to where we started. And I think back to like, did I leave the field crew in a better place? Like when Mike promoted me, did I make the field staff better? Did I figure out better SOPs, right? Did I help them to be more efficient? Did I teach them P for P? Right? Did I leave the place better? Did I leave the jersey better than when I stepped out, right? Same with estimating. When I handed it over to Marcus, did I leave it in a better place than when I found it? Right? And Marcus is gonna be your estimator, right? An estimator is the person who gets you business at your organization. I had to hand it off to someone that needed to make sure there was jobs for guys to put food on the table for their families. I had to make sure I put it in a better place for him, and he needed to make sure he put it in a better place for Dylan, and Dylan, now you have to put it in a better place for the next guy, right? Leave it in a better place. All right, number 3, how you can sell yourself. Communication, all right? We need to communicate. Every single day we communicate. I think it's 80-something% of our communication is verbal, right? But if you're an employee, if you're a manager in this room, if your boss prefers WhatsApp, text messages, email, communicate with them that way, right? It's a preference for a reason. What's more efficient for them? What's most efficient for your customer, right? Some of our customers we need to train how to communicate with us. It's a different topic, come back next year. But we need to communicate professionally, right? Do we speak in full sentences? Do we ask our team members to talk at team meetings, or do we just lord over them and tell them all the things they need to fix, right? Do we own our mistakes? At Augusta, we practice the yellow slip system, right? If you make a mistake at Augusta, you better be good at public speaking, otherwise you're about to be, because you will hold up a yellow slip, which has the date, the address, the name of the customer, and then the complaint. You read that out loud in front of the whole team at Monday morning's meeting. That really helped him learn how to communicate. If you can own your mistakes in front of a room, you can do a lot better talking about things you're passionate about, things that you care about, or things that you want to sell, right? Owning your mistakes publicly, verbally, it's extremely hard. But if you can do that, I promise you can communicate in a lot of other ways effectively. All right? Let's see here. Another thing too, I just want to touch on this, like I already mentioned, for owners, like we use WhatsApp at Augusta, like voice notes, right? Can you clearly state a voice note, or you take 20 minutes to type out a message, right? Quick voice note, hey Mike, I'm doing this, I want to let you know I'm headed to this property, just keeping you in the loop. Boom, send the voice message, right? Is it clear, is it concise, is it professional? Same thing with customers, right? Is it, hey, I know you guys are just doing the cleanup today, but the trees in the back, do you think maybe you could prune those? Well, yeah, Mrs. Smith, of course we can. What I'm going to need to do is just take a quick video, I'm going to get that back to the manager, and then we'll send you a bid for it. Or do you say, okay, Miss Smith, whatever. Right? I know it's simple, but these are little ways we sell ourselves, because if I communicate effectively to Miss Smith, more than likely she's going to pay for those extra trees to get trimmed. Versus, cool, Miss Smith, I'll tell the boss man. Right? She'll be like, what does that mean? Like, is he going to trim the trees or not? Do we communicate effectively? Number 4, attitude. All right? Are you willing to grind? Your mindset is the key to what you can achieve. I think attitude is how you present your mindset. That's a Lee Park original. So, attitude is how you present your mindset. I think that attitude is something that people see, right? When your kids are acting out, I don't have any kids. When your kids are acting out, gosh, you have such a bad attitude, right? I've seen my sister do it. My mom did it to me. They have such a bad attitude, right? It's this representation of something inside you, and I think it's your mindset, right? What have you set your mind to? What are you going to do today, tomorrow? How are you going to achieve that? Your mindset is what presents your attitude. So, when it gets hard, do you push harder? Or do you just roll over? Or do you say, oh, command center can take care of it, right? The franchisees. Liz and I used to say a quote to each other because Mike thought it was a good idea to one day say, hey, I'm franchising. Here's the keys to my business. We used to say a quote to each other, life is hard, then you die. And it's very morbid. I understand that. But it would get us through the hard times because it set up our mindset for today's hard, but we're going to get through it. Right? I know it's extremely morbid, but it's a joke between Liz and I. But it is hard. Life is hard. And guess what? If we don't deal with the hard stuff today, it's there tomorrow. Right? You punch out on Friday and say, this lawn does not look good. I'll deal with it on Monday. Or do you go, I got to stay an extra 20, 30 minutes because I got to get it done. Right? What is your attitude towards getting that job done? What is your attitude towards helping the last guy wrap up? What's your attitude towards cleaning the trucks after a super, super long day? One of my favorite things that Marcus does is if the crews would ever go late, as soon as he saw a truck pull in the shop, he sprints out there and helps them unload their debris. That shows me his mindset is geared towards the team. It's geared towards helping them finish. It's geared towards selling himself to the team, that he's a good leader. And I know his attitude is, I'm tough, I'm going to help you, and I care for you because I know you had a long day and you have a lot of debris to unload. Right? That's his attitude. There's a really cool story kind of about all of this. So I don't know if there are any history buffs in the room or any people that like World War II movies, but who's seen Saving Private Ryan? Great, this analogy won't be too lost on the room, but I'll try to explain it as well as I can. My wife was away for like a week. This is just a sidebar. She went and saw our family for the holidays, and I crushed like 7 or 8 just graphic war movies. I love history, like Saving Private Ryan. I watched it like twice. Anyways, sorry, Mike. I probably should have been selling or something. But if you've ever seen Saving Private Ryan, I just need a mental break. If you've ever seen Saving Private Ryan, so the premise, just so you know, if you have not seen it, is there is the Ryan family, and there are 4 military-aged gentlemen in the Ryan family. Well, 3 of them die in combat in this story. Is it based on a true story? It's fictional, right? Does anyone know?
It's true story.
It's true? Oh, well, that makes it even cooler. Awesome. I honestly didn't know. Should have done more research. Basically, there are 4 Ryan brothers. 3 of them died in combat. And the U.S. government had what they called, I believe it was the last surviving member, or if someone remembers that, I think it's like last surviving family member law that they enacted. Basically, if all the males had gone to war in the family, and then 3 of the 4 died, the last one would be sent into a non-combat role, right? Because the legislature decided that it would not be fair to the parents or the family members of those 4 brothers to lose them all to one war, right? So the goal is to go save Private Ryan. He's the last surviving member of his families, and 8 men are tasked with going to save Private Ryan. And the reason I want to tell you the story is because I think the Captain Miller, is a really cool representation of the 4 things we just talked about on how you sell yourself. Right, when you're a captain in the military, if you're a veteran, thank you for your service. I have not served. But if you're in the military, right, you have to win the respect of the guys, but at the end of the day, there's orders, keep them in line. Right? If they don't have orders, they're going to go to, get the MPs and they're off, right? But they're walking through the French countryside, right? They just went through D-Day. They just stormed Normandy. And these 8 men are tasked with finding Private Ryan. And they're walking through the hillsides of France, and Ryben, one of the soldiers under Captain Miller, goes, you won't explain the math of this to me? Where's the sense in risking the 8 of us to save 1 guy? The captain says, we all have orders, and we all have to follow them. It's Tom Hanks. I won't even try to do an impression. and they challenge him, right? To the leaders in this room, you might get challenged, right? Your people might challenge you. Why'd you make that decision? Why'd you do this? I love this story. They challenge him and they say, so Captain, you don't complain at all? He says, I don't complain to you. Very important. He then says, or they then say, so you just don't complain at all, even though you don't complain to us, you don't complain at all? He says, complaints go up the chain of command. You complain to me, I complain to my superior officers, and so on. And just so you know, I don't even complain in front of you. And they challenge him again. They keep pushing him, right? They're walking through the countryside, there's 8 guys, and they're like, why? Why would we be doing this? And they just keep pushing. They challenge again. And they say, so Reiben goes, say I'm your captain. What are you going to say then, sir? And Captain Miller responds with some poetry. He says, this is an excellent mission, sir. This is an extremely valuable mission, sir. Worthy of my best efforts, sir. Moreover, I feel heartfelt sorrow for the mother of James Ryan, and I'm willing to lay down my life and the lives of my men, especially you, Reiben, to ease her suffering. Right? And the reason I wanted to tell that story is because I really think Tom Hanks' character, Captain Miller, it really shows us all 4 different ways that you can sell yourself. Right? He's the commander. He could just say, be quiet, orders are orders. Right? Which he starts with, but he gets pushback. Right? Anyone ever had an employee or any of the employees in the room ever push back on your manager when they said to do something? You know, just put your hands up. Right? You say, no, like I need you to go help guy A because crew B did something and I just need you to do it. Well, why? It doesn't make sense. Shouldn't crew B, because they're in the neighborhood? Please just go help them. Right? Sometimes you can't just say orders are orders. So he navigates this conversation with great tact. Right? He navigates it with kindness, right? He doesn't raise his tone. Obviously, I didn't have the clip. If we had the video player, I'd show it to you. But he's kind, right? He even makes a joke. He jabs at Reiben, right? They have a buddy-buddy relationship. He says, I'd lay down my men's life, especially you, Reiben, right? It's a good joke. It's kind. It's funny, right? His appearance. If you actually look at the scene, it's very funny. They're walking through the countryside of France. Germans are still occupying most of France at this point, right? A lot of the guys have their hats off, their packs are half slung, right? Their water bottles in hand, maybe their rifles over the shoulder, right? He's got the map, right? He's got a compass. He's got his Thompson right on his body, right? He's got his sidearm ready to go, and his helmet's on and strapped, right? With the 2 captain marks on the top of his helmet. He showed his team, I'm the leader, right? We're walking through enemy territory, I'm prepared, I'm ready for war. And they're all just like, whatever, we're walking through France. Now, communication, obvious how he communicates with his team, right? Verbal communication, like I said. But he doesn't put them down. He doesn't say orders are orders, be quiet. He explains and he plays along with their little game, right? And I'm not saying when employees question you, it's a game. But to him, he's like, these are orders. At the end of the day, I can say it's just orders, but I'm going to play your game. I'm going to entertain you. I'm going to have fun with it, right? And he tells them the answer that they should give, right? I think your employees honestly just want to know what you're thinking. Like, what would you do if you were in my situation? Right? Explain it to them. Get on their level. Don't talk down to them. Right? And I know he's being, facetious when he's like, these are great orders, sir, and I think it's a worthy cause, sir. Like, of course he's being funny. He's pushing a little bit. But I think there's times where with your employees you can explain in that way. You get on their level. You explain how you would do it your way. Right? And then attitude. He's funny. He's charismatic. But he's going to finish the mission, right? It's very clear he's determined. We're going to go find Private James Ryan, and we're going to get him home to his mom. Right? It's very clear that he's determined. Like I said, he has the compass, he has the map, he's ready to go. They're all wandering mindlessly. If you watch the scenes, actually, they are all just like mindlessly wandering. He's the only one like leading them and directing them. His attitude is, we're on this mission for a reason, and we will accomplish this mission by any means necessary. Now, we talked about all the positives, but maybe we should talk about things that you should always avoid, the negatives, right? If you're going to sell yourself, right, all products out there have reviews, right? All of our businesses have reviews. There's good reviews, there's negative reviews. And the negatives are typically about the negative things that we've done, the negative customer experience, right? So what are the negative things that you need to avoid? And I'm going to be 100% honest. He's in the room, so I guess I have to give him credit, and it's recorded. But I'm pretty much stealing this from one of Mike's offsites. So we do offsite dinners with our team, and this is in spring of 2021. And this is really core to what we believe at Augusta. It's still core today, and it has been core for years. But Mike really wanted to refresh the team on what are things that Augusta will always fight. And I think these are really things you should always fight if you're trying to sell yourself, if you're trying to sell your business, if you want to better yourself, you need to always fight these things. Number one is having disconnected teams. Right? If you're a manager or team leader in this room, if you're an owner, do not let work flow downhill. Or to use Captain Miller's analogy, down the chain of command. Right? If somebody needs help, you're the first person to jump in as a leader. Right? If you're an employee, take initiative and communicate to your manager, communicate to the owner of the organization, help them understand what's going on, and then figure it out together. Don't get frustrated and upset and walk away and go do your own thing. Right? Disconnected teams, disconnected leaders, disconnected managers. Right? This is a big one. I know Mike's talked about this a lot in Augusta Nation, but when teams are disconnected, they really fall apart. And I think one of the biggest ways we get disconnected as team members is not having standard start times and wrap-up times. And if you're the owner of your business, you're the first person in, you're the last person out. Okay, when I was appointed manager of Mike's Bellingham location, I was the first car in that parking lot, and I was the last car to leave every day. My favorite thing is, now I don't have to be the first person there, and every morning I pull in and I see Dylan's car. And it makes me very warm and fuzzy. Because he's the first person in, and he's the last person out. Right? He's not disconnected to his team. Okay? Don't forget how hard your team works. Right? If you're an owner, if you're a manager in this room, those guys work hard. If you haven't been in the field for, say, a year, I challenge you, go do it. Marcus and I went, the team was behind. It was like 2 springs ago. We went and we were like, dude, let's go crush some mows. Let's go help the team. So we went, I was beat. Dude, I mean, we killed P for P. But I was done, dude. I was done at the end of that. I've been out of the field for like 6 months, maybe a year, and I was done. We stopped at Robex. It's a smoothie place. Marcus was like, bro, you need something. And he got me avocado toast and a smoothie. He's like, you're dying over there, guy. So don't forget how hard your teams work. If you're a manager, if you're an owner, these guys work hard. And if you're a frontline employee, your manager's probably working really hard too. Yes, they're sitting in the office. But I challenge you, if you're a field worker and you don't think office work is hard, Command Center is hiring virtual assistants this spring. Give it a try. It is extremely exhausting, talking to people on the phone all day. It is extremely exhausting navigating customer conflict. Extremely exhausting. I see some people laughing, so they probably have horror stories. I won't ask for examples. Right? But don't be disconnected from your team. All right, whether you're a frontline employer or an owner, be connected, be on the same page. Here's your homework. If you want to avoid disconnected teams, read, Marcus and I read this together, Team of Teams by General Stanley McChrystal. General Stanley McChrystal was the general in charge of Operation Iraqi Freedom. And I won't spoil the book, but dealing with terrorist cells was very different than traditional Western war, and we had to completely restructure our military organization in order to fight terrorist cells. It's a completely different structure. There's no hierarchy like a Western military, so information would flow differently. Basically, General Stanley McChrystal was in charge of reorganizing the whole overhead of the United States military and figuring out how we were going to fight a war in the 21st century. Okay? Phenomenal read, I won't spoil it. Super long on Audible, I think it's like 14 hours, but it is worth it. It's really good. Really good. All right. The number 2 thing that you should always fight in your business, you should always fight if you want to sell yourself. Okay? If you want to get better at proving yourself, it's drama and or a victim's mindset, or victim mentality is what a lot of people would call it. With policy at Augusta, if there's drama, you're gone. Not even a question. Doesn't matter who is right or wrong. It's drama. We don't do drama at Augusta, right? We talk it out like adults. We're going to figure out, sure, something went wrong, somebody's upset, that's fine. Validate people's emotions, but don't be the one bringing drama to the company. Don't be the one bringing drama to the organization. Don't be stirring the pot, right? Who does it help? Like, honestly, who does it help? If someone wants to try to answer that, it'd be really funny. Like, drama helps no one. Quite literally, it helps no one in your business. Okay? Remember, everyone's on the same team. We're all trying to move the ball down the field. If you like analogies, one of my favorite ones, when things got hard, when I was in the field, when I was an estimator, when I was a manager, and people are moving around, you can't see what's going on, right? You can't see the whole field, right? But I know, our end zone's that way, am I moving that direction, right? Am I helping our team get one step closer to the goal line, okay? Drama helps no one get closer to the goal line. What drama is two receivers fighting each other because one was supposed to run a post route and one was supposed to run an out, and they bumped into each other and now they're yelling at each other on the sidelines. Who does that help score a touchdown? Nobody. Right? You have to move the ball down the field. And don't ever play the victim. And if you do, please stop that now. Talk to Liz. She'll be more gracious with you than I am. It will never benefit you in life. I know we're talking about business. Do not play the victim in life. And it's the reason I said extreme ownership at the beginning. Yeah, life happens. Life's hard, then you die. Right? But if you account for every variable and you do your best to take care of every variable so you succeed, you can never play the victim. Right? If you own the problem, you can own the solution. Right? And your homework for that one was to read Extreme Ownership by Jocko Willink. So, that is drama and victim mentality. Number 3, the thing that you should always fight if you want to sell yourself is complacency. Success is not being content when you think you've reached a mountaintop. Success is getting better at your craft every day, right? Are you trying to get new skills? Are you trying to learn new things? Even outside of work, right? Are you trying to better yourself? I want to get better at communication. I want to get better at storytelling. So I have a goal for myself this year is to actually read more novels. It seems weird, like maybe I should read more business books, maybe I should read more leadership books. But I think I actually want to get better at communication and storytelling. I want to expand my verbal threshold. I want to speak better. I want to communicate better. I want to connect better. So right now I'm reading Lord of the Rings, and it's awesome but extremely hard because I never read novels. But I'm pushing myself to try to learn to be better. Right? Are you listening to leadership books, business books? Right? Are you taking Mike's courses? If you're in Augusta, you get those free. Landscape business course, MBA for entrepreneurs. Just packed with knowledge. If you're not tapping into that resource, if you're an employee in this room, ask the owner, ask your manager about it. Right? Those are ways you can better yourself as a field employee. Right? And Simon Sinek talks about this a lot in his book, The Infinite Game. But business is an infinite game, and an analogy he uses is there is no mountaintop in business, right? You're not going to get to some mountaintop and be like, woo, we did it, like plant the flag, right? When we hit 100 franchises at Augusta, Mike and I literally passed each other in the hallway, and he said, hey, we hit 100. I'm not exaggerating. Because there's no mountaintop, right? Next we gotta get to 200, and then 3, and then 4, right? We didn't get to the mountaintop, and he didn't take the managers out, and he didn't take command center out, and like, woo, let's do it. We hit 100, and we both smiled, and we went about our days. And we kept grinding, because we aren't complacent. Right? If you're complacent with where you are at, you are not going to sell yourself. You need to learn new schools, or you need to learn new skills, you need to school yourself, if you will, to get better every single day. Right? I think in your personal life and in business, you're always climbing the mountain, or you're standing still, or in the worst case, you're falling down. Right? There's no mountaintop. You're either climbing forward, you're either standing still, or you're falling backwards. The book, your homework for fighting complacency, and it's one of Dylan's favorites, and it just came out, Never Finished, by David Goggins. Phenomenal book. So I know there was a lot, threw a lot at you guys, but I really appreciate you taking the time to come and hear me, and hopefully I can help in some way. But I think really we just need to get practical about this, right? How can you sell yourself? What can you do, today that will better you, better your business, better your team, right? And I think, one of the things, if you're a leader, if you're the owner, if you're the manager, and your company doesn't have a clear set of, culture, values, or goals, that should be a number one priority. Right? Because you as the owner and the manager, you'll be able to sell your team on what those goals are. Right? You'll have a mission, you'll have a vision. Right? Mike talked about, Dan Rouse talked about that. It's a very practical thing, and it drives you to continue selling yourself. Right? It drives you to avoid being complacent. right? It drives you to avoid drama, right? Does drama help you get to the vision? No, right? It drives you to avoid all of these horrible things, right? Disconnected teams, management, leadership. And I would recommend if you're an employee in this room, if you think you're a high performer, sell your own P4P, and that is not a plug. Like genuinely, if you think you're a high performer, it will change the culture of your business, and it will allow your high performers to succeed, to show just how valuable they are to the company, right? And if you can sell P4P to your owner, if you're an employee in this room, and they're not on it, congratulations, give me a call, I'll send you a gift card for dinner or something, because it will help you sell yourself, right? If you can sell that to the owner, you will get there. So if you have any questions about sales in general, or just selling yourself, or how to better yourself, or where to even start, please hang out, please talk to me after. But I want to leave you with this. I think that, there's a lot of statistics and different things I could have kind of ended with, but I think I really just wanted to kind of speak from the heart and speak ultimately just kind of objectively about what I've seen in my 5+ years at Augusta, and being in sales roles and field roles, and just everything that I've done. And I think if you can learn to sell until AI takes over, but if you can learn to sell in the short term, you'll always have a job, right? All businesses have a product to sell, right? And people need to get that product out the door, so you need to sell the product, right? If you know how to sell, you'll always have a job. But I think if you can learn to sell yourself, right, if you can prove yourself over and over and over, you will always be creating greater opportunities for yourself every day. Thank you guys, appreciate it. So year 1, I was field crew. Year 2, I was project manager. Year 3, I was estimator. Year 4, I was manager. And year 5, I've been in the franchise. And now this is kind of I'm basically a third of the way into year 6. And nothing's changed yet. So, but not in a bad way, right? I think honestly, my professional and personal goals, to get back to your question, getting long-winded, is to help Mike build the franchise, to help the franchisees as much as I can, because I believe in our cause. I think we have a worthy cause, which is helping small business owners. All of you guys here, being small business owners, I believe in that. I think small businesses are quite literally like the backbone of America. They feed a lot of families. They do a lot of good in their communities. So I really believe in that, and I just want to support that however I can. So short answer, in 3 to 5 years, doing something at Augusta, helping further the vision. And there are some talks between my wife and I that we'd like to open some locations as well. So I would like to be an owner, so I can also relate to the owners.
Who's going to give you your coaching call?
Who's going to give me my coaching call? Honestly, I just hours and hours of Mike Handy. The only person who listens to more Mike Handy's than me are the guys who edit the videos. I can say that confidently. Everything he puts out, I listen to. Whether it's inside the franchise, whether it's public, whether it's anything. If he says, I had an interesting call with someone the other day, I'm saying, send me the Zoom link, right? Because I know he records all his Zooms. I'm like, send me the link. Like, I don't even care. It could be a guy who, the most recent one, a guy who booked a call with Mike who owns fast service oil change businesses, right? And I was like, send me the link. I just want to learn. So, who's going to give me my coaching calls? I guess I'm just going to keep learning from Mike, right? I'm going to always fight complacency. Like what I said to you guys is those are all like things I've gone through, things I've thought. Like that's not some fake, yes, it's prepared, but it's not like some fake inspirational speech. Like, what did I fight to learn how to sell myself? What did I fight so Mike would be confident enough to say, no, I want you to represent the franchise and sell franchises? And I fought complacency. I'm always learning, whether it's from Mike, whether it's from, I mean, there's tons of people. I can't think of them off the top of my head, put me on the spot, but just books and books and books and podcasts and anything. Oh, Marcus, sorry.
What's your podcast? Where can we find it?
Yeah, okay. Not a paid spokesperson. No. C-Suite Unfiltered on YouTube and on Spotify.
Way too fast.
I know, because I don't want to shamelessly plug myself. No, honestly, the idea behind the podcast is called C-Suite Unfiltered with Mike Andes. Really the idea, it's something Mike and I kicked around a lot. Like, wouldn't it be fun if we just like riffed in front of microphones and just talked? And really the goal behind it is to kind of show Mike and even myself and our relationship a little bit differently, right? And not that Mike isn't like vulnerable or honest. He's the most honest YouTuber business person I know, but it's just a different light. It's a different taste. It's not polished, it's not prepared. Most of the time he doesn't know what we're gonna talk about. So it's just like, hey, what do you think about FTX? Hey, what do you think about Liver King, right? Those sort of weird things that we don't hear Mike talk about, but he knows who Liver King is, so might as well ask him what he thinks about the guy, right? So just trying to have fun, honestly.
Back when you were a GM, what would you say was your biggest struggle and your biggest success?
That's a really good question. I would say biggest struggle is easy for me to remember, because I would say being a GM was pretty hard for me. I've had some conversations with Mike and Liz about this. I didn't handle like the office side of it well. I didn't handle my time well, time management. So I'd say the biggest struggle was like my time management and like knowing when to step away, right? I think what Dan Ralph said the other day, and I wasn't joking when I said, he said it on stage and it completely changed my mindset. When I was a general manager, was everything was urgent, nothing was important. Because I overemphasized like how important success was to Mike, and it was not pressure he put on me, I want to make that very clear, but I put pressure on myself because I was like, this business is successful, I have to keep it just as successful, if not better, right? I want to prove myself, but I overemphasized urgency and I didn't think about what was important. I stretched myself too thin and it wore on me. It wore on my relationship with my wife. It was very hard. We had some very serious conversations. Not to be contrary to Mike, but I mean, she was like, you need to stop having lower highs and higher lows. You need to be emotional, right? I think I went way too middle, and I was just urgent. I was like a fly buzzing around. I was like, this is a problem, this is a problem, this is a problem, and I wasn't emotional. Which in a way was great for Mike, because I wasn't all like a baby to him, and I just ran his location, but it was horrible for my relationships. What was my biggest success? Since it was a two-part question. That's a really good question. One of the most profitable years ever. It was a really good challenge, but I was determined to beat the previous numbers set by Liz and Mike. I wanted to make it extremely profitable. I wanted to make it extremely lean, but I made a lot of mistakes. So I know, the numbers are vanity, right? Like Tommy Mello said, but I wanted to keep the numbers at where they were at or better. And I wanted to ask for as little help as possible, to the detriment of my relationships, but I think there was some success there, and I think I just learned a lot about, if you're a natural leader in this room, I've always had people tell me this, like, you're a natural leader, you should do this, you should do that. I'm very humbled by that, but I was a horrible manager. So I think a big success for me was learning how to be a manager. It sucked, but I learned that managing people, completely different than just like leadership. Right, they're not interchangeable words. Sorry, long-winded again. Tyler.
Would you think that people not following the systems like they should in Augusta is more because people don't think they work, or because people haven't experienced enough pain in an area that system could fix to where they fully implement it and have the first-hand experience to really believe it in themselves?
Yeah, I'll keep it short and brief, just because it is more geared towards the franchise, but if I had pride, Mike would have fired me. And as franchisees, we don't kick you out if you're prideful. And I'm just going to be completely blunt. If you don't think the systems work, it's your pride. Just going to be completely blunt. Mike would have fired me as his manager if I was prideful and said, no, Mike, what you built, dude, come on, I rearranged the trucks, like, we're doing these jobs now, bro. I would gone, curtains, seal-y.
I heard a little bit of Mike there. I heard a little bit of Mike there.
Oh, maybe. I told you, I listen to the guy a lot. Yes, sir.
What's kept you from starting your own franchise as of now?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think for me, it's just what we're doing internally. Knowing the announcement last night before everyone else was a little bit of a delay. I knew we were going to roll out a CRM, and I didn't think I wanted to have a remote general manager going through all that by themselves, because every single territory from like here to Seattle is basically bought. So if I buy a location, it's going to be remote, and it might be in Tennessee. So that's where my wife's from. But yeah, I think just what we're rolling out, all the changes we're making, and I'm giving my 110% to the role I'm in currently. And I think out of respect for Mike and out of respect for what Augusta's building, I don't want to split my attention. So I'm committed to what we're doing internally, and eventually, yeah, we'll see. I'll hopefully get to call myself an owner. and I look forward to that. Liz is here.
Hi, guys.
What's up? Woohoo! Now you can be in the hot seat. I think I saw a hand over here, but then we got you. Maybe somewhere in the back, or go for it.
Did she answer that same question?
Oh, yeah.
What's the question?
Would you mind restating the question?
Why at this point in time have you not had your own location or started your own location with as much information that you've learned over the years?
So that was exactly what I have been struggling with the last couple months. Sorry, I'm out of breath. I was running down here.
Take your time.
So we have the 3F program, which I don't know if you just explained. But that's where any franchisee employee, if they work for them for 2 years, they can start their own location. So I've been with Augusta for 7, but we've only franchised for 3, so I could start my own now. And my plan was to start one out of state first, and then Mike talked me into in-state. So what I was thinking was if I stayed at Command, I would hire somebody as my general manager, and they would run the location. I thought that's cool. Okay, so then I have to realistically think, all of us have employees that leave, right? Just, swinging door. So what if my GM does that? So what am I gonna do? Leave Command, I'm responsible for all these employees, all the franchises, and I'm just gonna fly somewhere or take off for 3 days, try to hire another one, then what about the jobs? So now I'm gonna be doing the jobs and trying to hire somebody, and then under this massive pressure of all these people that are depending on me, and I'm just not there. So you have to count the cost and pay the price. And the price is either I'm gonna do Augusta 110% like I'm doing, or I'm gonna try to do this thing, which I would not be there for Mike like I should be, right?
Did you hear my answer?
No, I was
That
upstairs.
I said 110%. I couldn't be there for Mike. I said the exact. So there you go.
See, we're so aligned. Isn't that nice? Did you have a question?
Yeah, so both of your answers were basically just saying you don't have the time that's required to manage or to nurture that location. So how do you pitch the idea of multi-location investments to someone that's already a busy person when you're saying that one location is too much time for someone that's already busy?
Because I'm running 109 already.
But
Don't believe her. I'll shadow her for a day.
You see what I'm saying?
I don't understand.
I could go run one by myself. I could run several by myself.
Liz could run several by herself blindfolded.
But I'm now taking care of 109 companies already. How could I then go take care of one, every employee, every route, every project?
That's what I'm saying. So if you're pitching the idea of a multi-location investment to someone like that guy that Mike was just talking about who owns concrete business, whatever, how is that guy, do you know what I'm saying? So
I think our time structure is completely different. Liz wakes up, it's Augusta and support Mike for 16 hours, and then it's bed. For me, it's a little different because I'm married, and it's 8 to 12 hours, Mike, Augusta, home, bed. So our time structure is different. We don't work 40 hours at Augusta. The last time I worked 40 hours was the week of Christmas. But before Christmas, 5 years, I mean, honestly, this Christmas was the first Christmas I took extra time off. It's been 5 years since I've worked less than overtime.
The other guy might have a lot of other companies, but he probably has more time because he has GMs in place for those current companies, so now he has time to invest into Augusta.
Yeah. And you'd have GMs, right? You'd be grooming your employees. We'd be remote. So if I were to say run a location, like we said, all the locations from here to Seattle are taken, so we can't start one. So it's remote. Even a 2, 3, 4 hour drive, that's half your day. So we would have to have a GM in place that we would not be in contact with. Whereas if you start one location, you're typically grooming and training employees to then give them location 2 and then give them location 3. So talk to the multi-location owners. I think one of them is in here maybe, and just ask them why did you start location 2? Well, Kyle's literally right there. He was trained by Dustin, and now Dustin has a great guy that he can go, you're in charge, I'm going here, right? We don't have that luxury right now.
You know how Mike was talking about your capacity? You have to decide what your capacity is. when I have to look at the hours in the day, and could I run that? You better believe I could. But I already get up at 3. So I have to realistically say, when am I going to give it time? If I'm going to run it, it's going to be while I'm at command running it, which actually I thought would be so positive, because I'd be running mine along with all the others. But then what if I deal with my employee for 3 hours? I feel like then I've taken away from the other franchisees. So my capacity to separate myself that many ways is not realistic. I also own another business. So if that business wasn't also intertwined with Mike's, I wouldn't run that business. So it has to be that I can do that while I'm at Augusta. You see what I mean? So hope that kind of helps everybody understand. Any other questions? Wait, Andy was...
Andy? Sorry.
Hey, as quickly as Copilot came to be, how come that wasn't pursued as a software a year ago? That'd be a question for me.
Yeah, that'd be a question for Mike. I have an answer, but that would be a question for Mike.
Yeah.
Yeah, did you want to ask a question here?
Yeah, how do you guys keep your personal lives in check? And do you ever get a break? Because it sounds like you're saying I'm working overtime all the time, and is that just how you live your life, or how do you?
Yeah, we can both answer that. But mine is, I had to make that decision too. I do Augusta 100% of the time, and that's just what I'm doing right now. So I am very careful to keep things structured, and I also understand that if I had a family, or if I was in a relationship or have kids, there would be no way I could do this. It would have to be structured completely differently, right? So it's having your priorities correct. If you have relationships, they're the most important thing in the world, and because of those relationships is why you work. So then I don't believe in balance, but you try to find, if your family's most important, they're first, and you do all the other stuff because of your family. And your first question, before the balance, the family?
Do you ever get a break?
Oh, yeah, well, it's like, if you love what you do you need a break? Do you need a vacation if you love what you do? Not really. You'll go on a vacation, you'll end up working anyway, which is what we do. So.
I could answer too. Yeah, I'd take a break if I wanted to, honestly. Like, I just love what I do so much. Like, if you look at my calendar, if you want to book a call with me, it's from when I sit at my desk to when I leave my desk. There's no lunch break. Like, I'll just eat in between calls. I'll just take a sip of water between calls. I'll sip water on the call. Right? Like, I just love what I do. I want to talk to as many people as I can in a day. I optimize my day for efficiency so I can work long hours. And when I leave, I think this is a really important thing. And this is one thing I told Marcus. He was like, Lee, what's like a piece of advice you can give me going into general managing? And this goes back to like, how do you set your priorities and how do you have a family, relationships? I told him, guess what? At the end of every day, there's always one more thing to do. You need to know when you clock out and leave, and don't take it home. I know it's super easy to say that. You've probably heard a million business leaders say that, but it's something you have to figure out. Liz has a great story, and it's from a book, if you correct me, but there's a police officer, and every time he came home, he had a physical symbol for when his day was done, so he could hang out with his little girl. He walked in the door, he set his keys down, and he put on a bracelet he made her. And that was a mental reminder for him that I'm home, I'm no longer at work. And I think I have some of those mental things for myself when I leave, because there are 100 and something franchisees. There are always unopened messages on my phone. There are always unopened emails. There are always missed calls. But I need to know when I check, that day is done, I put my name on it, I grinded, I'm gonna go home, and tomorrow I'll pick that right back up.
And I'll say too, when I say I don't believe in balance or whatever, and keeping family and separate and all that, we keep it incredibly separate. So I don't know how many of you know, but I am actually Mike's aunt. And Lee worked with us for 8 months before he knew that, and it was only because somebody told him.
No, it's not.
What happened?
Love you.
Yeah, so
Mike walked out of the office. Love you.
yeah, so
Then somebody told me.
okay. So we call each other Mike and Liz, and when we're with the family, suddenly it's Auntie and, well, I still call him Mike, right? So it is very separate in that way. Those don't intertwine. We never share with the family. When we get together with the family, we never talk about Augusta. Unless they specifically ask something, and then we just briefly give a few details so that they know that we're sharing, you know, but we don't ever bother them with our burdens or what we're dealing with or any of the stress of the business at all. So I guess you would say there's a balance in that way. We definitely separate the two, and we can leave and help our family, and it's entirely separate. So, any other questions?
So this is for the both of you. Like throughout this whole crazy process, what is one thing you guys like learned about yourself that you did not know before?
I'm a very flawed person. Yeah, because there's so many things coming at us so fast, and we pivot so fast and change so much that I've had to do a lot of really deep work to change. Yeah, and know my flaws, know my limitations, and recognize that I'm not Mike. You know, recognize that you're not the other people in your company, and we're all built differently. And I can't perform like him, and I'm never going to be able to. I perform in a different capacity. So I would say that's what it is. Recognizing that I'm that, knowing my limitations, and still always trying to improve all the time. Every moment I'm awake that I'm not with another human, I'm always listening to good content. Always. I've listened to thousands of books since I started at Augusta. And it's not just that. It's to have anything coming into your mind that's not your thought, but something that's better, pulling you up higher. Listening to people that are better and stronger and further ahead than me. There's no way I can stay status quo or go backwards if that's what I'm doing.
Yeah, that's how do I follow that up? That was phenomenal. I actually was like, my gut reaction was, I think, like my strengths and weaknesses. So to Liz's point, like I thought being, you know, groomed, if you will, is like I was this would be very shameful to say this. I was prom king, right? Like I had people like, you're the leader, you're the cool guy, you're the fun guy. And so I like went into life like I'm so cool, and I was humbled extremely fast. And I think Augusta has also helped humble me, and I've learned new skills. Like I said, I thought I was a great leader. I thought everyone liked me. I became a manager, and I sucked at it because it's extremely hard. And Mike's laughing, sorry. But it's hard. Managing is different than leadership, and learning your weaknesses, learning what you're good at, and not trying to be someone else. There was a period where like I thought, yeah, like I'm gonna try to work like Mike, be like Mike, you know, the whole nine. And it's like, no, everyone's different, right? Mike has different skills than I have. Liz has different skills than I have. And surround yourself with people that have different skills, you'll build something amazing. Question over here. Yes. Oh, Sean.
So we're kind of at the point in our business where a GM's kind of like the next step naturally if we want to grow, because we're both being pulled in so many different directions. Mm-hmm. From your standpoint, maybe even before you started working for Augusta, from, you know, an employee looking for a job, what drew you so much to Augusta, or maybe Mike, or however it was structured at that point, what drew you to the job?
Yeah, I think we'll have very different perspectives, obviously, because Liz, you know, is related to Mike. But for me, what made me apply was my summer job was over, quite literally. And Augusta was right down the street, and I walked in. I met Liz for the first time, and I got hired, thankfully. And for me, the rest is kind of history. But to your question, what made me stay is Mike's servant leadership. He's a servant leader. He cared about me as an employee. And one of my favorite things, and it's cliche, and you know, Mike laughs at me, but in this phone, I have every single off-site that we've ever done at Augusta. I have the meeting notes, back from when I was first hired, so 2018, 2017. And every single time Mike set a goal in spring, there's a check mark next to it from the fall off-site. He sold me the vision, he proved it through his actions, and he was always a servant leader, and that's what made me stick around. It was his vision, it was his compassion, it was the fact that we had goals and we hit them. And when we missed goals, like he owned it, but it's the fact that he was relentless in achieving those goals and selling that to me.
So Sean, are you asking from the point of view that what you should be looking for, or how you would attract that person?
I guess our biggest issue is with the social media, we've had so much hype, you know,
right.
And it's hard to find people in our area that don't immediately look at that.
Right.
So if we could just put the blinders on and hire somebody
Yep.
that wasn't coming for Sean and Savannah or Sean and TQ, Spencer Market, you know, how could we attract that person?
Yeah.
That's who I'm looking for.
Yeah, so you would think of the skills exactly that you want to have outside of, like, you know what you've got going on, you know what you need, and like not think of all of that you've got going on. Think of the skills that you need, and then you could make a vanilla post. Like, people know who Mike is, and he put out a thing for everybody for general managers, right? But he had a specific questionnaire they had to fill out when they contacted him before there was even an interview. So because you have a large social presence, the same would be for you. Like, if you talk to Mike, he could probably help you put something together. You'd get 1,000 responses, but there's specific things you're needing to see and skills they absolutely have to have. You don't want to just, you know, practice on a whole bunch of people. The things that you know are your weaknesses are what you want to hire. So you would put an ad out for that, and we could definitely help you with that.
Great answer. Thank you.
One more question probably, and then we're going to Bryce.
Seems like you guys haven't really missed on general managers at the corporate location. So what are some non-negotiables you guys look in a person to be able to be a general manager? And then when they struggle with something or something like that, how has Mike helped you, you know, allow you to figure it out so you learn from it? And then how also did you help Marcus when maybe he came across a struggle?
Yeah, I think, you know, definitely talk to some of the owners who have second locations at Augusta, and talk to, you know, other attendees at the conference who have, you know, multiple businesses, and talk to Chuck, who is Mike's regional manager, because he more directly deals with that. But in terms of like red flags, I would say, you know, most recently Bellingham, right? Dylan, I get to brag on you publicly, Dylan. But he was always consistently early. He would always consistently help other guys, right? That servant leadership that I talked about. If he's willing to like humble himself to help guys even when it's not his job, right? Stay late. You know, when you're talking about a field worker, right? Not an outside hire, you look for how do they treat the team? How do they interact with the team? Or do they just, you know, clock out and leave when, you know, 3 guys are pulling a late day, right? So that'd be a red flag when looking internally. And I would say if you're hiring like outwardly, for me, this is just my view of how I do interviews. One of my favorite questions I do in an interview is, this affects in no way if you get the job. What are you passionate about? If they have an ounce of passion, I know as a manager, I can like tap into that passion, right? Like, do they care about it? Oh, I just need a paycheck. I just got alimony, right? Whatever it is, like, no, like, I had a guy we hired, great employee. He went off for 3 minutes about history and the Roman Empire. I'm super passionate about the Roman Empire and history, and I want to be a history teacher. Like, he lit up, and I was like, you're a great culture fit, because I know you're passionate about something, and if you're excited about something, I can get you excited about Augusta, I can get you excited about our goals, and I know you're going to care about the people around you. So.
Are you asking, like, it seems so easy for us to find somebody? Like, how do we actually find somebody and look for something?
Well, it seems like you guys, you know, have had it spot on, but they talked, you know, Marcus and Lee has talked about, you know, some struggles that they have had. But Mike also talks, you don't just jump in and, you know, micromanage them when they're going through a tough time, because when they don't learn to, they feel like you don't trust them. So, you know, I knew Lee had firsthand experience with Mike of being the general manager, how Mike handled if Lee ever struggled with something. And then also, you know, Marcus, you know, the recent one, when Marcus maybe struggled with something, how do you go about and, you know, making sure that they know that you're there for help, but you're not overstepping and kind of taking their power
Exactly.
away.
So we have all of our roles defined, what we're supposed to take care of, but it's always that the person can go to the next one up. So if I'm dealing with something at command that's just getting a little out of my scope, I'm not sure what he'd want to do, then I'm going to go to Mike, right? Otherwise, in my boundaries of my role, I can do anything I want, right? And then if I need help, then I can go further up. So perfect example is when this employee that we had was very sick, had a lot of pain from stuff he had been through, and he killed himself a few months ago. Marcus told Lee, Lee called me, said we need to have a phone call together because we're not sure what to do, and Mike was gone. So we let Marcus do the whole conversation, tell us what was going on, and you can imagine I mean, there's people in this room that have never dealt with that on any level, let alone when you're 20 or 21, right? And you hired this person, and so now you feel responsible. He was dealing with the family. They're asking questions like, his last paycheck, can I have it? Like, you know, those are all questions like, who's supposed to get the paycheck? You're 21, like, how do you even answer those questions, right? There's no way you can. You're just gonna reach out to the next person. So he didn't call me, he called Lee. He talked to Lee, which was the next person who had helped him. And probably if Dylan had a big thing right now, because Marcus is gone, he'd probably reach out to Lee. But when Marcus was still there, he would have reached out to him. And then they together would have gone up to the other roles if they couldn't handle it. They're 100%, we did not jump in and take over for any of that for Marcus. It was like ripping his soul out, right? Trying to deal with that, and then dealing with the mother. But every call he made, we supported it. You know, he's like, hey, can you get pictures for the funeral? And I'm like, yeah, just get me pictures. And then I make sure they were framed pictures. Can you get this for the service? And then I would say, do you need flowers? I'll go get the flowers. But he was in charge. We followed his lead. And then we did everything we could to support. I sang, Mike spoke, Lee spoke. And it was for Marcus, right? I've never met that guy. Does that answer your question a little bit? Like, who do you reach out to when you need help?